Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining me, our guest this evening is Jackie Goldberg, who's running for LA Unified School Board in the 5th District in a special election in March. We talked about some of the issues facing the education component of the city, but you're no stranger to the Armenian community. I have to tell our viewers that Little Armenia, the designation in Hollywood that we've all enjoy and live in, and in fact the studio is in Little Armenia, is due to Ms. Goldberg and her efforts while she was in city council. Tell us a little about that.
Well, you know, a number of folks who have, particularly along Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard in Little Armenia, said to me, you know, we've seen designations at Water Village, we've seen designations other places, can we do something here? So we did a little research, and I had Baitsar on my staff, and so she helped me with the research, and we found out that really it just takes a motion by a council member, a designated spot, and then a sign, a couple of signs actually at each end. So we put together that with a lot of folks who actually had businesses or homes nearby. And I took it to other communities and I said to them, you know, I'm going to do this. Is this going to bother you? And everybody kind of signed off on it. And then I took it to the city council, and really it was a unanimous vote. And it took us a little longer than I wanted to get the signs up. I don't know what that was about, but finally they're there, and they're there permanently. And I think it's important. I think it's important. I did one for the Thai community as well, because, you know, people don't realize how diverse this city is and how much people of all different backgrounds have contributed to this city. So even something as little as a sign not only gives pride to the people whose community is, but it also tells the rest of the folks, look, here's a community that's participated in the life of the city, and we want to designate a neighborhood in their name.
And I'm also happy that 20 some odd years, I remember the day that the sign was unveiled.
Yeah, it took a long time.
That the community is still vibrant, and the subsequent city council members are actually working, like Mitch O'Farrell is doing the gateway to Little Armenia, and certainly the school and the churches and everything else contribute to it. So thank you again. But you also did say that you were in Armenia. Tell us a little bit about that.
When I was on the school board is when I really began to get engaged with the Armenian community. I always had a place in my heart for you because, being Jewish, I see that diaspora and Holocaust are both in our histories, and it made it very easy for me to take a position that, yes, a Holocaust did occur, and it should be recognized, and people should take responsibility for it. But as a board member, I was able to get a dual language program called bilingual in those days, in Armenian and English, and the first Armenian-speaking administrators to be appointed. While I was on the board from '83 to '91, we had the earthquake in Armenia. And I thought, well, you know, you don't really ask children for much. So I asked the children of the district, would they just bring change, whatever small change they had, to their school, and we collected it all over the entire district, not just in Little Armenia, but all over the district. And we came up with a sum of money that surprised me. I wish I remember what it was, but it was significant. And the ANC called me up and said, we would like you to bring it to Armenia. Well, I didn't have it think twice before I said yes. But I will say it was a very moving experience because it wasn't long after the earthquake, and there were many houses that were still devastated. There was only electricity a couple of hours a day. Azerbaijan had cut off the border, and so fuel couldn't come in, and people were literally burning their furniture to stay warm in the winter. And I was inspired by the courage and by the willingness of everybody to help each other in that situation. And I was very happy that I had an opportunity to meet with some of the school people. I went to a couple of schools while I was there, and I had dinner one night with some teachers, and it left a very strong impression in me that this was a community and a nation that was going to rebuild. And I hear now, and I've seen pictures, I know you have.
We have, and we've also emerged victorious in a couple of wars, so it's a good thing. Coming back to your desire to be back in the city council, a lot
Not city council, school board.
School board,
That's
sorry.
right.
A lot has changed since you left. What are some of the key things that you think have changed and need improvement?
Well, I was not very supportive of a superintendent being selected that had no education background. I have nothing personal against him, but I think that I'm a strong believer in education and public education, and I believe the people who commit their lives to it are the ones that should be running school districts. So I want to be a part of the evaluation process and see if this man is living up to what he said he was going to do. I'm very worried that he's going to put in something called the portfolio plan. This is a plan being pushed by people who are what we call the billionaire privatizers. These are people who don't want to pay more taxes so that kids can get a good education. So they want to say, oh, you don't need money, you just need to have more charter schools. So they spent $15 million, $13.5 million kicking out a very fine school board president, Steve Zimmer. But they also spent $40 million trying to get Marshall Tuck elected to the state superintendent of public instruction. I mean, even I can't believe that anyone would spend $40 million on a superintendent's race. But what it tells you is that there is a group in this country who are the same people, the Walmart family, the folks that do ALEC, the Koch brothers. There are people in this country who do not support public education, didn't go to school in public schools themselves, don't care that their families never had anything to do with public education. And they are funding campaigns around the country to try and get districts to close underperforming district schools rather than get them more money and get them more help. And so to do that, instead they want them closed and put charters in. But the charters are having the same problems. There's 110 schools in LA Unified that were listed by the state as having the lowest scores. 22% of them are charter schools. So everybody's having the same problem, and it's because this state, since Proposition 13 in 1978, spends too little money on our children. Right now we spend about $12,000 a year. New York spends $22,000. If we spent $22,000, we'd have smaller class sizes. We'd have a librarian in every library. We'd have a nurse on every campus. We'd have social workers and psychiatric social workers. We'd have more assistant principals. We'd have more people who were teaching assistants to have more adults in the classroom. California has a reputation of being a good state for everything because we're so blue. But if it takes a 2/3 vote to change the taxes, then you can't actually do anything about the real problems of the state. And underfunding public education is my first priority, to change that.
We'll talk about the strike that just recently ended after we come back. I want to hear what you have to say about that. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.